And good morning and welcome to day 3, the third and final day here of the 2023 Mammoth Trail Fest for the Dragon's Back Ascent. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined, as usual, by my new co-host, Mr. Rod Farvard. Rod, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Dylan. How are you feeling this morning?
My voice is feeling a little shot, not only from broadcasting, but from cheering you guys on in the beer mile last night. We'll get to that in a little while. It was such a fun evening here in Mammoth Village, and yeah, what an amazing weekend it has been here at the 2023 Mammoth Trail Fest. A big shout out to everybody who has been a part of it, the racers, the organization, the media team. It's really been a beautiful encapsulation of trail culture, hasn't it, Rod?
Absolutely, yeah. We couldn't have asked for a better weekend either. The weather has been insane, a little bit cold, but I think racers are actually appreciating that. So
yep.
Yeah.
Another chilly morning here in Mammoth, probably 35 degrees, even though it says 53 degrees on your screen. Rod and I both snuck out for 30-minute runs this morning, not
Big
to
miles.
brag. Disciplined athletes here in the studio to bring you our third race of the weekend here today, and that is, of course, the short race, the Dragon's Back Ascent, and it's going to be a high-octane, action-packed race from the bottom of the Dragon's Back climb all the way to the summit of Mammoth Mountain, which you see here now on the screen with a proud finisher's arch there on a beautiful, crystal clear, blue sky California day, as is typical of this time of the year. But you're right, Rod, we have been blessed with perfect weather. It does look windy and blustery up the top. I bet it's quite cold. We'll probably get boots on the ground, sort of interpretation of how comfortable it is up there at the top. I'm sure the runners are probably going to want to jump into the gondola as soon as they finish up here this morning. We are expecting it to be very competitive here this morning. So, Rod, maybe give us a quick glimpse into some of the characters in the field, and also provide some of the times we might expect, since you know this so intimately.
Yeah, this is going to be action-packed. It's obviously going to be a short race here up to the top of the mountain. We can expect the top 10 men to come in around 40 minutes. Leaders of the race will be closer to 35 minutes. And then top women should be around 50 minutes to an hour here. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes up. But some big names we're watching today. Andy Wacker will be lining up after doing the 26K. He clocked a sub 40 time when he was doing the 26K up this climb, which is already lower than the existing course record that was here before everyone came and smashed it at the Golden Trail race on Friday. So fresh Andy should be good here. We also have David Norris lining up, which will be interesting to see. He's won Mount Marathon a couple years, right?
Yep.
Do you know a little bit more on performances?
I think he was on the Olympic track for Nordic skiing for a while. He's a native Alaskan. He's a multiple-time winner of Mount Marathon, of course, that iconic mountain race on the 4th of July every year in Seward, Alaska. A really great athlete. He's just done well on the Cirque Series as well, and I bet he's going to be racing angry here this morning because I know he took a very early wrong turn in the 26K on Friday, so David Norris will definitely be a factor in today's race.
That'll be amazing to see. I'm also excited to see Matt Seidel, who raced here last year on the hill climb.
He smashed the beer mile last night in a banana suit.
He did. I really wonder if he's going to wear that banana suit today. But
he's had a great season, Matt Seidel. I think he's got a bright future.
Yeah, he's put himself out there, definitely. Just signing up for very competitive races.
Tons of racing.
Yeah. And then who do we got here? We have a potential lineup. We still haven't heard word back from Tim Tollefson if he's going to be starting this race, but
he's doing it.
Would be awesome to see the race director out there. He knows this climb very intimately. It means a lot to him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the start of this race and battling it out with the front runners.
He used to hold the crown here on this segment, and actually, Rod, we should probably talk about the damage done to the Strava segment on the on the Dragon's Back Ascent on Friday. Give us some historical perspective of what Remy did to everybody's egos who's time trialed that iconic segment here.
So before this weekend, there were some great names on the leaderboard. We had the likes of David Laney coming here, Darren Thomas, just great climbers. Tim Tollefson and myself very, very, we compete on the segment, definitely, but we've never really gone all out. So that's a little disclaimer to this, but we run it all the time. So we know what's a good time. We know what's a respectable time. And the previous course record was around 42 minutes from the bottom of the segment to the summit of Mammoth Mountain. Again, that's 2.9 miles with about 2,400 feet of climbing. So I think that averages out to about 16 to 17% grade. Definitely some technical terrain on it as well. So it's not just a trivial climb up. But Friday, the Golden Trail runners ran up this around mile 5 of their race, getting up to sorry about that. Getting up to around mile 8 of the race. So this was in the middle of the race. Remy Bonnet smashed the segment, got to 32 minutes for total time on the Dragon's Back climb, which is just absolutely unreal. That's about 3 minutes per mile faster than anyone else who has done this climb. And the top 10 of the race wasn't very far behind him. I think next best was Chad Hall, around 35 minutes. A lot of runners just sneaking under that 40-minute mark.
Okay, so I pulled it up here on my computer, and for our viewing audience, open up another tab, go to Remy Bonnet's Strava account, and pull up his activity from Friday, of course, the Mammoth Trail Fest 26K, part of the Golden Trail World Series. If you click on segments, and then you click on the Dragon's Back Challenge route, this is what Rod is referencing here. Remy Bonnet, 32 minutes, 51 seconds. So what was the previous CR on that?
42 minutes. I don't know the exact seconds, but near 10 minutes.
A 10-minute reduction in a 3 mile, under 3 mile Strava segment. Absolutely ridiculous from the Swiss machine, Remy Bonnet. But not to be outdone, Chad Hall, 2.5 minutes back, 35:20 for Chad Hall. He is probably going to be racing today, isn't he?
I believe so. It's all up to his adductor. We had him in the studio yesterday, and he pulled out of the 50K feeling some tightness and didn't want to push anything or strain it. But I think you feel those things a little bit more going downhill rather than going uphill. So I think he's going to test it out and see what happens. But
all right, so now I'm looking deeper on the leaderboard for this Strava segment. The top 16 times now on this segment all came from the race on Friday. So I think that's an example of what happens when, multiple people are pushing each other to great performances. So anyway, go check out Remy Bonnet's Strava segment from the Dragon's Back Ascent. That'll give you an idea of what the racers are going to be experiencing or what they're going to be challenging themselves on here today. As we look down on the start line, we are now about 12 minutes removed from the start here at 9 a.m. local time here in Mammoth Lakes, California. Just to give you a bit of a run of show, obviously we are going to be covering today's race. We'll be covering at least through the top 10 women as they charge up to the top of Mammoth Mountain. Again, the high point is about 11,000 feet. So it's going to be a high altitude, high octane, full gas, anaerobic affair. And then Rod and I are going to do just like a short debrief of the weekend to close out today's live stream, just recap some of the great performances, some of the great storylines before we sign off for the weekend. So that's sort of the plan here this morning. And yeah, it was an amazing evening last night after we signed off from our live stream recap and preview of today's race last night. It was probably about 7:15 p.m. Walked into the village, greeted the final runners during golden hour of the 50K yesterday. We should actually pull up the number of finishers and maybe give some recognition to some of those heroic final finishers in yesterday's race. But then there was a great awards ceremony followed by a dance party and a beer mile. And anyway, just sort of, we could probably go into the beer mile with the champion from last night, Rod Farvard. But it was just such a fun atmosphere here in the village. And, I think as somebody who's been in the sport for 15 years, who's traveled all over the world to experience the great races in the great sport of trail running, the ones that I always find most special, most fun are the ones that have those community building activities, not the ones where people jump into their trucks and drive home immediately after it's over, so it was a great night last night.
Agreed. Yeah. It's really fun to mix it up with, runners that you guys know each other peripherally, but it's not like you've ever hung out or had a drink together or anything like that. So anytime you can stick around and do that, it's really what makes the sport so great. And just so happens we were able to do that excessively last night. So.
Super, super fun. So I just pulled up the results from last night. So let's just give a few shout outs. It looks like we had a total of 418 finishers yesterday, which is awesome. Not entirely sure the number of starters and therefore the number of people who dropped out. I think we were expecting about 520 starters yesterday morning in the 50K. So assuming we had a little bit of, a percentage of no-shows, that's probably a very high finisher rate. So big shout out to all the runners who got it done yesterday. Going backwards here, our final finisher last night, 24 years young, Drew Huddick from Owatonna, Minnesota, finishing 11 hours and 42 minutes. Steve Chaparro in second to last, 417th place, 11 hours, 38 minutes, 18 seconds. Julie Baxter from Irvine, California, 11 hours, 36 minutes and 9 seconds. And the list goes on and on. So 418 official finishers yesterday as we look back on our screen, seeing some athletes warming up on a crisp morning here in Mammoth Lakes. And it's probably a really nice morning to charge up the hill, isn't it, Rod?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a good shot of the start here. So you don't actually start immediately climbing. You have about 200 meters before you hit the climb to get in position. Because once you do hit it, it's pretty narrow single track, hard to pass. Not to say that people won't be passing on it, but it's one of those climbs you want to be in position for, definitely.
Yeah, so we can expect, therefore, to see some very fast sprints out of the gate here, especially from our elite athletes who will assemble at the front of the starting line, and they will jockey for that position. And then, Rod, basically, right out of the gate, it gets a little bit steep, and then I recall it's sort of like you go down a little bit, or there's a little bit more of rolling, gentle terrain before you kick up to that technical piece, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the climb will start with about a quarter mile of really steep terrain, but really runnable, nothing technical. And then you will flatten out a bit, actually a tiny bit of downhill to kind of catch your breath before you get onto a more technical section of climbing around the same grade, but again, just really, really good footing in these early sections before flattening out again. And then around 0.75 miles on this climb out of 2.9, you will hit the most technical section, which gives you amazing views if you decide to look at the views of Twin Lakes behind you. And we actually got a drone shot of that section too. Just look how nasty that looks. You're actually switchbacking just through these rocks here before getting up onto a high ridge. And yeah, from there it's pretty relentlessly steep.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, and big shout out to our coverage team, our drone operation team. That's going to give us great visuals of the athletes as they make their way up the mountain. We do have 50K champion MK Sullivan stationed at the top of the hill, who's probably going to be doing some finish line interviews and giving us some of her boots on the ground commentary from up there. So make sure you stick around to hear from MK Sullivan. Also ripped the beer mile last night, and a huge PR for her. Huge PR for MK last night in the beer mile. So amazing double performance from her. Double threshold day, training like the Norwegians, MK Sullivan. And then we also have Helena Faulkner, another trail superstar who's stationed, Matt, like 2/3, 3/4 of the way up the hill. So she's going to be doing some follow cam stuff for us up there too. Also a beer mile runner last night. Both of them on the podium of the women's beer mile last night here in Mammoth Lakes, California. So
yeah, shout out to them getting up early and getting up the hill.
Yeah. So we got a great coverage team, and we are all energized for one final race here in what has just been such an awesome weekend here at Mammoth Trail Fest. And You've heard Rod and I talk about this throughout race weekend, but in just 2 years, this has really become one of the great late summer or sort of like, early fall races in North America. And I think it's only going to continue to grow and, increase in significance over the years, wouldn't you say, Rod?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this year is definitely a catalyst year with having the Golden Trail athletes come to and just showcasing how competitive it could be out here in the Eastern Sierra. So I anticipate a lot more numbers next year. Tim Tollefson gave us a cool stat. This second chapter of the race is 3 times larger than last year's. And again, only the second chapter of the race. So that's just amazing growth, amazing numbers. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to come out and finish off their season here next year.
So we are now under 5 minutes to go until start time. And to echo your point, Rod, I wasn't here last year, but having just walked around the village and hung around and chatted to all the local supporters and volunteers, and I was even having a conversation with Tim's mom, who was out there handing out slices of pizza to finishers yesterday. Shout out to Mama Tollefson too. I got to start getting my parents out to volunteer at our races, for God's sakes. But anyway, the general sentiment was like, last year was cool, but this year's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. It's just so cool to see people running so fast out here, and people just out here, really taking in the Sierra Vistas and taking in what Mammoth is known for. I mean, the fact that people are coming from Minnesota and really determined to make those cutoffs. Like I think 11:42 out of 12 hours for the last finisher of the 50K from Minnesota is just it's unbelievable. That's definitely a dream realized for them. And yeah, it's cool to host a space for people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we were expecting a total of about 1,500 runners this year. So that alone puts Mammoth Trail Fest in rare category of just in terms of like number of participants over the course of 3-day trail running event. Off the top of my head, Javelina, Black Canyon probably have around that number. Broken Arrow, the Rut are probably a little bit bigger than that. But in just its second edition, Mammoth Trail Fest really showing up as one of the new great races in North America. Big shout out to race director Tim Tollefson again, who we hope is going to be taking the start line here in about 3 minutes to blow off some steam after what I'm sure has been a busy weekend for him.
The guy's rested. He's been saying he's been sleeping. So
yeah.
Look at this shot, too. This is a nice aerial. We call those the Twin Lakes. There's a nice waterfall coming into them. All part of the Lakes Basin, which includes over 10 incredible lakes here. Runners get these amazing views coming up the climb today.
Yep. So 2.5 minutes to go till the start time. And I think, Matt, if we look at the far right-hand side of the screen, it looks like that's where the runners are assembled. Looking down at the bridge is where the timing mat is. So anyway, just to give some perspective to our viewing audience, I was wondering where everybody was, but I guess they're Anyway, they're sitting in the shade there on the there we go. Thank you to our great drone operators.
Also important to note, there will be some competition for the Mammoth Triple Crown today as well. So athletes who have taken on the 26K, 50K, and now battling it out on their third time doing this climb this weekend. And Yeah, and I think we're expecting a total of about 250 runners this morning. To put that in perspective, we had over 700, I believe, in the 26K and over 500 yesterday. So this is the smallest in terms of participation, but no doubt a lot of awesome runners here ready to take on a beast of a challenge in an all uphill course. And once they get up there, Tim said there's sort of like a finish line party if it's warm enough up there. And then they'll take a civilized ride down back to the village here in Mammoth via the gondola system. So a nice morning to charge up a hill. And it looks like we are now moving Runners
towards the
lining
timing mat here. Under a minute to go until start time. So again, we are going to be expecting probably, what do you think, Rod, 35 or so minutes in the men's race?
I think so. Yeah.
Probably, what do you think, 50 minutes in the women's race?
I'd say 45. I think
45? Wow.
So last year there was this Ascent. It's finishing in a slightly different spot this year, and I think it's about a quarter of a mile, maybe a little bit longer to the summit of the mountain, but it's pretty flat. If you've been watching any of the other live streams from this weekend, it's that plateau section we had Sally live reporting on yesterday. So that's going to be it's going to be fun to see runners going all out in that section, trying to edge out each other before getting up the kicker to the summit of the mountain. So
okay, and there's Tim Tollefson with the cowbell in the center of your screen in that red puffy jacket.
Oh, looks like he's
I see Chad Hall there, so he has indeed stepped to the start line.
It's going to be
I'm
exciting.
a little disappointed in Tim for not jumping in. It doesn't look like he has his running clothes on, so he could just unzip the jacket and go once he sends everybody off. So anyway, Tim, we'll give you a pass this year, but next year we expect you in this Dragon's Back Ascent.
I was chatting with him yesterday. He is having a great time cheering runners on. I think he's feeling really fulfilled with the race director duties and not getting that itch to race.
It's great, man. I mean, as somebody who's like Tim, we're about the same age. We've been in the game for a long time and, you know, sort of moving into new chapters of our careers probably while still grasping onto the final days of competitiveness. And, you know, we have some events now. Tim's got his event, and it is just such a beautiful way to give back to the sport and stay within it even after the competitive days are over. And we are off.
And they're off. That's
the 2023
Chad on the left-hand side of your screen. Andy Wacker in all black at the front.
I think Chad's wearing full tights and a singlet. That is a flex there.
It's a speed suit. Meanwhile, Matt Seidel in the banana suit. We'll see. Here's that 200-meter stretch. Runners are going really hard here to get position.
This is a popular campground that's packed through all of summer season probably, and the trailhead is like basically you run through somebody's campground more or less to get onto the trail. And then from memory, it's like pretty steep straight out of the gate. Definitely. And then like we talked about a couple of times, we'll flatten out some tiny little downhills before it starts going uphill proper. So we don't have great service within the woods there. So we've got our great drone operation team that's going to be flying around here, and once they emerge onto the rocky section a little ways up the hill, we'll be able to get our visual back on the lead pack, and we'll be able to hopefully see who's going to be contending for those podium and top 10 positions here today. But Chad Hall, officially the second fastest person ever on the segment, which he did again in Friday's 26K race. For those who didn't tune in yesterday, Chad Hall was trying to do the triple. He was unfortunately DQ'd in the 26K because of a innocent course cutting situation that happened to him. So anyway, we don't necessarily need to rehash that. So unfortunate DQ on Friday, and then an unfortunate DNF yesterday in the 50K. He was saying his adductor was super tight and he was really banged up from the 26K effort. So he bowed out of yesterday's race. So I'm sure he's hoping for redemption here today.
You love to see him keep showing up, though.
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty great. He's definitely a hungry guy and has a love for the trails.
And look at this beautiful day here in Mammoth Lakes. Looking out towards the White Mountains, right, Rod?
That's right, yeah.
White Mountains, I think, known for being like very high, very remote, and very dry, right?
Yeah, it's a good escape in the winter, definitely. Tim and I do a bit of running out of Bishop into the White Mountains. Obviously, you can't get super high when the snow hits, but still some nice dirt you can run, even though Mammoth will be socked in anywhere you see.
I recall coming out here to train like probably 10 years ago at this point, and we camped out in Bishop and ran up towards the top of that ridge line.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of ancient pine forest up there, isn't there, Rod?
The bristlecone forest, yep. It's actually one of the oldest forests in the U.S. and pretty incredible sight to see. It's hard getting up there, though. You were probably driving on, I mean, I guess you ran up there, but if you were to drive up there, it's pretty rough roads.
I remember I was doing some tempos up like a super dusty dirt road, just absolutely getting my butt kicked by the altitude, just wheezing, but it was well worth it to get up there and see that really unique biological phenomenon, the ancient bristle cone forest. So for those who ever make their way to this area, another cool thing that you can check out. And we should also just emphasize what a great area this is, Rod. I know this is where you make your home now. It's not where you're from, but it's where you choose to live at this point. And for those who have never been down this 395 corridor, maybe you can say a little bit about what makes it special. We've been talking about it this weekend, but for those of us who've experienced it, it's maybe difficult to articulate, but it really is just an amazing place to be.
Yeah, it's so scenic just driving. Even like I mean I feel like I can hop in my car and be very satisfied just driving up and down this highway. But really, out of any small town, there's numerous trailheads that will take you out into the most stunning backcountry, in my opinion, ever that I've seen. And I've seen quite a bit of different places, including places in Europe and in Colorado. So this year is incredibly special to me. There's amazing alpine lakes here and just such jagged peaks that just provide such an amazing backdrop. If you've never trekked out and seen anything, I mean, you can get into the backcountry within like 5 miles, and it's definitely worth it to do. I mean, it's an interesting thing too, being someone who trains out here, because obviously you want to optimize for what you're training for and what type of workouts you should be doing, but at the same time you want to balance like being able to see all these amazing cool things out there and still finding enjoyment out of it. But I think this area, like, it combines both, and you can end your workout in an amazing backdrop and place to be. So,
and it's so cool too. We've been talking about the town of Mammoth and what a great little community it is, but there's really trails that come straight into town, and so you can do easy kind of everyday running straight from kind of the local village. But then you also just have this massive access to huge backcountry terrain. So it really is a trail running paradise. And now, as we've said multiple times throughout race weekend, it has a worthy event to call its own here in one of the great trail towns in North America. We are now 6 minutes deep into today's race, or maybe 7.5. We'll get a confirmation as to which one of those clocks is accurate. Yeah, okay, so I'm getting confirmation that the clock there you see on the ground is accurate. We're going to adjust the one that you see on the screen, so bear with us as we fix that up.
7 minutes into the race, runners should be hitting that more technical section that we were talking about that will wind through the granite you were seeing on your screen earlier in the drone shot. So hopefully we can get some shots of the runners here pretty soon.
So far off in the distance there you see the Mammoth Crest, and closer to us where you see that sort of more pumicy terrain in the sort of mid-ground there. That's where the runners are going to come up before they traverse along the service road that you can sort of see cut in a contour across the top of the mountain before the final mean kick up to the finish line that you see dead center in your screen, just to give you a little context. And there's MK Sullivan.
There's our champion.
There's our champion, bundled up. It does look pretty cold. Looks like she's got multiple puffies on up there.
Yeah, the Eastern Sierra is really known for that pumice. I mean, you grow to love it. It's very soft and really fun to run down. But it provides quite a challenge when you're on steep terrain. So definitely one of the hardest parts of this climb, in my opinion, is topping out there, going up that pumice climb. Even though it's not technical, it's really trapping your feet on the ground and making it hard to lift up your legs.
Yeah. Going back to just our conversation about what makes Mammoth special, that is one of the things that's unique about it. And as somebody who grew up in Colorado and who lived in a mountain town myself in Aspen for many years. It's really fun, right? To just see how different the terrain is. Even though you're in the mountains, you're at about the same altitude. The soil, the topography, the amount of water that's around is so different here. You know, the abundance of lakes and creeks and streams out here is something that's so amazing. And when I was doing my training camp before Hard Rock back in 2021, you know, it's just so easy to dip your bottle in a little lake or in a stream and stay hydrated throughout the day. And
couldn't agree more.
Running on the pumice, and then obviously there's tons of granite, so a lot of that stuff in the backcountry can get quite technical. There's, you know, multiple 14,000 foot peaks and many, you know, a little bit lower than that. So endless adventure to be had here in the Eastern Sierra.
Yeah. So
we should start to get some visuals on our lead pack here pretty soon. Met us at Troy Wicks on that. Shout out to Troy Wicks, our drone operator. We were chatting with him yesterday. One of the best in the biz. He managed to zoom in on a runner's bib number for us yesterday so that we could ID them. And he's probably listening to us now. So shout out to Troy. Big thanks to him.
So pulling up the Strava segment here. So it looks like Chad, who again has the second fastest time on this climb, and he set it on Friday, averaged 12:13 pace up this mountain, which is pretty stunning, I would say. And the way that you do that is typically a faster mile to start. The second mile is quite tough to really.
Here we go. All right, we're seeing our first glimpse of the lead pack here, and that's Chad Hall.
Chad, yep.
The white singlet and the full blue tights, a great outfit to time trial up a hill in today.
Wow, he's flying.
He is flying. He's the defending champion here at the Dragon's Back Ascent. He also won the 50K last year. Chad Hall, just such a talent. He was chatting with us yesterday on the couch about his athletic journey. Nice, making quick work of that technical bit. But Rod, what he was saying was, you know, he's sort of messed around with everything. He's been a road runner. He's been a road cyclist. He's been a mountain biker. He's dabbled in triathlon, and now he's fallen in love with trail running. And man, what a talent he is!
True endurance junkie. Look at him cruising through this. This is about that technical section of the course we were talking about. Let's see how he winds through these big rocks.
So you'll notice, just like in cycling, runners when they're charging up these steep hills, you know, you sort of want to have a higher cadence. So you sort of dial down the power, increase the cadence, meaning how quickly you're moving your feet. Just trying to be as efficient as possible with your energy expenditure.
Yeah, this section.
Aerobic energy. It looks like we got somebody not far back. That's Andy Wacker.
That's Andy.
In the black kit.
Let's see. Andy on Friday ran a really strong 38 minutes in 5 seconds. So 2.5. Yeah, 2 minutes slower than Chad up this climb.
Yeah, it looks like somebody's on Andy's wheel there. That might be David Norris in the white shirt. And then somebody behind David, too. Yeah, I think that's David Norris in third. White shirt, black shorts. And we got a shout out here in the chat. Underdog pick, Brian Elmstead, top 3, pink shorts, black shirt. So we'll keep our eye out for him. Yeah, that's Norris in third there.
Should be a good shot.
Nice, Troy. Thank you. You know who that is, Rod?
I don't. Can anyone ID that runner?
Let us know in the chat if you can ID this individual with the stars and bars on their singlet, showing that patriotism here at the Dragon's Back Ascent. You see Andy Wacker charging up in a hike as we search for Chad a little bit further up the hill.
Kind of crazy.
Chad.
Yesterday we saw Nick Handel running this entire section.
Yeah.
That even these runners posting 35-minute times up the climb, no one to strategically hike.
Yeah, and you have this tiny little plateau here, right, Rod?
Yep. Exactly.
Tiny little plateau. You're sort of through the worst of the technicality here.
Yeah.
They're now 13 minutes deep, so more than a third of the way through today's race for the most part.
So this is a nice, relatively shallow climb up to another plateau. The last plateau of the day, honestly. But yeah, a little bit of time to let the legs open up before getting that quick cadence that we saw Chad doing earlier back on the steep sections. So this is
this is so cool, man.
Yeah. This
so
is
awesome.
The south side of Mammoth Mountain. So on really big snow years, this is fun terrain to ski, definitely. But it's hard to hit it on a good day with how conditions go on south side. So
and that's the ridge towards the summit there. So they're going to be sort of in this wooded terrain for a little while. And then we'll have great footage of them once they emerge above the tree line and they get into that moonscape pumice near the top for the final grind. Oh, here's a great shot here.
it's a big pack. That is Horseshoe Lake that you see in the back there. Runners ran by that yesterday in the 50K.
Joshua Ernst, who is in 4th place. Thank you, Mike, in the chat. Appreciate that a lot. So we continue the Where's Waldo operation here. Troy Wick's our drone operator, the best in the biz. Doing his best to
Must be tough to fly right now with the wind.
I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
We got the Goo Yeti there up at the top doing a little dance.
Staying warm. That's the suit you'd want to be in up there.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the seasons changing here in Mammoth Lakes. A warm, dry summer turning into the cool days of autumn. But, man, it's just been such a perfect weekend. Each morning has been really chilly, a nice autumn bite in the air, which then turns into just a perfect autumn day. It's been sort of mid-60s and beautiful all weekend long. And we do see a runner here on our screen who we assume to be our race leader, Chad Hall. See if we can get a time gap on the chase pack here.
Really taking advantage of this flatter section. Yeah, he's moving
shot
fast
there.
here.
Gosh. What
Charging.
a great athlete Chad is. I think he makes his home in the San Diego area, but he said he's been in Big Bear recently doing some training, getting altitude acclimatized. He said he's probably going to be running the 50K at the Kodiak by UTMB race next month, even though we were trying to get him to run Javelina instead. You know, it's his career, his decision, but
it's his home turf too. He made note that he wouldn't
Norris.
be getting lost there.
Looks like Norris is now popped in front of Andy Wacker and Josh Ernst.
This is a great train here.
Yeah. So David Norris, again, native Alaskan, now lives in Steamboat Springs. We think he's a Nordic ski coach there. Again, multiple-time Mount Marathon champ. And as I mentioned at the top of our broadcast, if you didn't hear, David Norris was part of a group that got off course very early in the 26K. He was sort of one of our dark horses for the day in the Golden Trail World Series race that happened on Friday. So he's probably feeling fresh and feeling motivated here today. So good to see David Norris sitting in second place behind Chad Hall early in today's Dragon's Back Ascent. For Troy's sake, we should probably have a requirement in future years that runners have to wear like bright colors in this race, just so that we can have. It makes it easier for him to spot the needle in the haystack. But he's doing a great job.
We all need Chad bright blue speed suits.
Yeah. Yeah, speed suits should be a requirement. That or banana suits here.
Speaking of which, Matt should be up here in this group too. He was probably in that group coming up.
Matt Seidel?
Yep.
Is he wearing the banana suit?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You made a joke that he might, but
we do have our on-field correspondent, MK Sullivan, there at the summit. She actually won this race last year. MK, what's the weather forecast out there? How many puffy jackets?
I have 2 puffy jackets on right now and 2 pairs of pants. And I'm still cold.
So give us a sense of the temperature and wind chill.
Oh man, I actually have not looked, but let me see if it'll pull up for me.
Oh, you don't need to.
It's cold, but I bet if you're running, it feels great, honestly.
Yeah,
the sun's out. I'm probably gonna get sunburnt today.
Yeah. How's the body feel after your great 50K victory yesterday and then your PR in the beer mile?
Well, I'm not too sore, but I am really tired. Every time I've walked up to this finish line here, it's taken me quite a while. I'm not hungover, surprisingly, and I think it was the rice beer. The Sapporo was the move.
Well, congratulations on 2 great performances yesterday. We have visuals on our top 4 men so far. Haven't gotten an update on the women yet, but looks like Chad Hall is in the lead, followed by David Norris, Andy Wacker, and what was it, Josh Ernst sitting in 4th place. So we got great racing so far here today. As somebody who's time trialed this mountain at least a couple of times, MK, what makes it tough? What makes it hard? What makes it special?
I think the thing that makes it the hardest is that there's that middle portion that is almost like there's a little bit of downhill, and then it's just enough of a grade that you can run the whole thing. And then after that, you're on the sandy bit that's like a 30% grade, and you've just run your legs out a little bit. And so hiking up that, well, I have to hike up it, is honestly the hardest part for me.
Yeah. At very end of the climb, right? Or in the middle?
Well, I was thinking more, there's like the switchbacks that are kind of right before the end of the climb.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like the steep switchbacks, then there's the runnable switchbacks, and then there's the end of the climb, which is also just miserable. But at that point, you're like so close, you can usually find it in you to up it up a little bit.
So, MK, are you going to be doing some sort of finish line interviews with our top finishers here today?
That's the plan.
Amazing.
So
all right, so to our viewing audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, make sure you
stick around. Hopefully I can get them without too much music.
I got the weather pulled up here. It's 27 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill, 27 mile per hour wind up there.
Gusty, blustery. As we look down on some hikers. Hey, MK, we're going to check back in with you in just a little bit, but thanks for being up there. Thanks for bringing the vibes. We're going to go find the lead pack. Stay warm. We'll see you soon. As we fly back down the hill here, Rod, this is kind of the last stretch before the plateau up near the top. So
you're going to want legs here, definitely. Yep. And I actually think MK made a great point. That's what makes this climb so hard, is that there's sections that you really should be running. And if you run too hard on them, you're going to have a bad time also. So it's just kind of trying to find that balance between conserving yourself, but also trying to redline and run a fast time.
Yeah. So we are now about 23 minutes into the race here today, and building off your point, Rod, as somebody who has time trialed many mountains in my day. It's true, right? Like if you cross over into the red line too early, it's impossible to recover, right? So you really do, like the whole point of this is to be efficient and judicious with your energy expenditures. We see some hikers marching up the hill here. This is not only really popular time trial for local trail runners, but also probably the most popular hiking route in all of Mammoth Lakes, as we see Chad Hall still looking super smooth as he rips up the hill here through some sandy terrain.
Yeah, no problem.
So again, if we're expecting about 35-minute winning time here today, man, it'd be amazing if he ducked under 35 here today for Chad. That means he's about 2/3 of the way up the hill here.
Yep.
And it looks like he's now got a bigger gap. We don't yet see David Norris behind him.
Wow, he put a move on.
It's amazing he's such a great climber already, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, this is, there's David Norris, probably 25, 30 seconds behind. It looks like it was maybe Josh Ernst. And see the black kit of Andy Wacker. Let's see if we can get a split right there. 39 seconds.
This is an awesome view right now.
What I was going to say though, Rod, is like, I'm sure, you know, you also know some people who are just like uniquely great climbers.
Yeah.
And it's a skill that, you know, is I think more genetic than it is something that you can train, right? And going back to the Golden Trail race on Friday, one of the things that David Hillard was saying was that Patrick Kipyego is one of the best climbers in the world. In fact, he's the VK world champion.
Uh-huh.
And hold on, let me get that split. All right, so David Norris is about 40 seconds behind Chad Hall, between 35 and 40 seconds. But that Philemon Kiriago is a much faster, like flat ground and descending runner.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to the different skill sets that each one of these athletes needs to hone to be a well-rounded trail runner. But certain people have natural strengths. You know, Chad, obviously, he's only been in the sport for like a year, and he's already setting these, you know, FKTs on pure uphill routes.
Yeah.
Second fastest on the Dragon's Back Ascent behind Remy. So there is just sort of a natural climbing talent that I think some people have, sort of strength to weight ratio.
Exactly. Yeah. You'd kind of just expect the person with the biggest aerobic engine to be the best climber, but to your point, that's definitely not the case. It's very much being strong in the right areas, especially on more technical terrain too.
Yeah.
How do you manage the footing and still keep the fast rhythm? Like some people come to complete stops sometimes when they're in technical areas. Yeah.
I've always wished I was a better climber. You know, I've time trialed Mount Tam in the Bay Area like 1,000 times, and I'm nowhere close to the leaderboard on Strava. Granted, I'm much bigger athlete than most people who are really fast on that as a bigger, heavier dude. Typically, the all uphill courses favor, like I said, the folks with that better strength to weight ratio. And
Yeah.
what a great shot here as we see Chad Hall there, race leader, sort of the middle left-hand side of your screen, and David Norris charging up the hill. Looks like he's in second place right now, and it looks like Chad is extending that gap, which I calculated to be between 35 and 40 seconds just a minute or two ago. Chad breaking into a little bit of a hike here on some switchbacks.
It's really cool to have this perspective on what area of the mountain these runners are running on. When you're actually out there doing it, you just kind of feel like you're in a forest and you kind of have no idea where you are. But just seeing this now, you're really on the spine of Mammoth Mountain, which is why they call it the Dragon's Back. It is the back of Mammoth, and just following that ridge all the way to the top.
So you see here also, just as we talk about strategy and technique and stuff, just breaking into a hike there for a minute, using different muscle groups to push himself up the hill, and then getting into that low cadence tiptoe running style here on the flatter terrain. He's about to emerge out of the trees. We will have unobstructed views of Chad Hall pretty soon as he continues to charge up the mountain in the lead.
Some hikers.
It's
always hard to determine when to hike and when to run. I definitely have not figured that out. And with someone with shorter legs, I always feel like even just shuffling, running, I'll get up faster. But starting to get more into the hike camp after hearing some interviews with like Jim and talking about his training. Sounds like he's only hiking these days when he's out in the mountains.
Yeah. It's such a good point too. You know, a couple years ago, Jim opted to not use poles at UTMB, and in talking to him before the race, his rationale for that was like, oh, I want to tiptoe, you know, I want to like make Francois play my game. And I've had him on my show multiple times, and he's just, you know, voiced his admiration for Francois's hiking ability. And so obviously being the champion and professional that he is, learning from those mistakes in his career, honing that hiking capability and bringing home the UTMB W this year. As we now have Helen Mino-Faulkner, I think. Oh, this is Jamil with the camera with Chad Hall. Let's see if Jamil can hang on. Cutting back to the drone here, and we can see Jamil there with the red coat on. We got 2 cameras on. How great is this? You can see the shadow of the drone there on the ground. Amazing stuff here from our coverage team.
Sick.
And Chad looks so good, man. I mean, 40 seconds is probably an insurmountable lead at this point. He did look over his shoulder. We saw just a few moments ago on a switchback. He probably knows it's a race between him and the clock at this point, barring implosion.
Yep. Chad has climbed about 2,000 feet on the mountain now. I think he's about at 10.6, so 400 feet to the top from here.
400 brutal feet separating Chad Hall from the summit. And like you said at the beginning of the broadcast here, Rod, is that Josh Ernst in second?
Looks like Josh, yeah.
Come on, Josh.
Wow.
Look at him.
Oh, he's in the pain cave. You just know it.
Powerful arm swings. Like you said at the beginning here, Rod, this course is a little bit different from last year's race. It's a little bit longer. So instead of finishing right at the top of the single track trail, they will cut across that service road traverse up to the tippy top of Mammoth Mountain, 11,000 feet of altitude. Now we got Helen Mino-Faulkner on the camera.
Great climber herself. Oh, look. Yep. Following Chad. Excited to hear her take on this.
Heck yeah, Helen. Ripping uphill in a puffy jacket behind one of the fastest uphillers out there. As we cut back to Jamil and Josh. Josh looking good here in second place. See if you can look up Josh here. Ooh, we got some good intel in the chat here on David Norris as you try and find anything on Josh Ernst. Thanks to David Hochschartner. David Norris, one of the best American male distance skiers. He earned World Cup starts last year and top American male, 17th in the historic Holmenkollen 50K, which is probably one of those iconic Scandinavian Nordic skiing races. As we look down at Chad Hall, your race later here in the Dragon's Back Ascent, and the defending champion going for his second consecutive win, with Helen Mino-Faulkner chasing him with the camera here. And that looks like David Norris, third place now, maybe 10 seconds behind Josh. Chris Vargo in the chat. Josh is strong. We will see more of him in the future. He is legit. Good dude, too. Thank you to Chris Vargo for that intel. I'm going to see if I can find anything about Josh here on Ultra Sign Up.
That's Andy Wacker in 4th on the screen here.
So it looks like Josh hasn't done a ton of racing, if this is the correct individual. 29 years old. Looks like he went and tried the Sunapee Scramble vertical earlier this spring, which was a qualifier for the Worlds team. Looks like he had a tough day, finishing 49th overall. So looks like he's back here for another all uphill event. And look at Chad, man. This dude is absolutely shredding.
It's not slowed down one bit. And this is that really tough pumice section that we were talking about earlier.
He's not going to get under 35 minutes, right, Rod?
I don't think so.
A miracle at this point, but he's still going to put a fantastic number on the board here.
Which really puts into perspective how crazy fast they ran on Friday.
Yeah, such a good point. Oh, that's our black shirt, pink shirt, or
That's
shorts
right.
guy. Brian Elmstead. So good call from ES in the chat. Good job, Brian. Chad Hall. Now, mercifully, we'll have a little bit of a flat-ish traverse along the top on the near side of these snow fences that you see at the top of the mountain. For perspective, those fences were absolutely buried under feet and feet and feet of snow this past winter, historic winter. And look at, you can just tell Chad's running pedigree here. Again, younger brother of Ryan Hall, just an absolutely gorgeous stride. That's at 11,000 feet.
That's got to be
dude is
that's got to be
shredding.
under 5-minute pace right now.
A little bit of a bump here. He's probably, what do you think, 90 seconds away from breaking the tape here and taking home a victory.
I would say a minute. Looks like 35:20 was his time on
We just passed
Friday.
35:20, so.
Yep. He's digging.
And there's the minarets, which we've been talking about all weekend. Mount Ritter, Mount Banner, those two high points you see in the distance. Iconic Sierra Peaks. Chad Hall, the final kick. One more bit of anaerobic sprinting at 11,000 feet before you can kick back and enjoy.
Oh, that
Some
kicker's
breakfast.
painful.
Look at him. He's not slowing down, even though he's got it in the bag. You know, he could jog this out if he wanted to.
Yeah. Lined with spectators. What an awesome place to finish on top of Mammoth Mountain.
Yeah, awesome to see so many people up there this morning, huh,
Yeah,
Rod?
yeah.
So cool. Chad Hall, 36:29 for your official victory here at the Dragon's Back Ascent, his second consecutive victory.
Take a seat, Chad. Oh, man.
Taking a deserved knee there at the summit.
Incredible run.
God, what a beast, man. I can't wait to continue to see him make moves in this sport.
Yeah.
Feels like
Really,
he could focus on anything at this point.
really
As we
humble
see
guy, too.
Josh
And
Ernst,
here's Josh.
the surprise of the day, one of the performances of the weekend, 37:04. Sick time for him. Shout out
Amazing.
Josh Ernst.
Wow, that's a breakthrough.
There's Elmstead on the flat section. We probably have David Norris in between, probably Andy Wacker too. So
Right.
I guess we'll see here in a second. See if I can find anything out about Brian Elmstead here.
Yeah, I was trying to look also.
Oh, we
here's
got a
battle.
race here, folks. Let's go for the podium. David Norris sitting on the wheel of Andy
Oh my
Wacker.
God.
Who's it going to be?
Can David
Who's it gonna
outkick
be?
him? Oh,
Wacker takes it, but
that's
a
the
great
podium.
great third place for David Norris. Or fourth place, excuse me. Fourth place for David Norris.
Amazing.
Man, that's a strong top four there.
Yeah.
Chad Hall, Josh Ernst, Andy Wacker, David Norris, and now we've got Brian Elmstead rounding out the top 5 here today. And we do promise, folks, we will get cameras on the lead women here as soon as we can.
Anyone going under 40 minutes here is an amazing result, to put it in perspective.
I kind of want to go try it after the race here today.
Yeah.
I got to drive home, but just to see how pitiful I am in comparison, just to give me some motivation.
Brian Elmstead,
Great job,
rounding
Brian.
out your top 5 in 38:30. Another insane time.
Going back down the hill here, catching some of our mid-packers ripping up the mountain.
It's a tough stretch. What an awesome place to be for them on a Sunday morning.
So again, just for perspective, taking nothing away from Chad Hall, who finished in about 36:29 here today. Remy Bonnet ran that section in 32:50 on Friday on his way to victory in the 26K. It would have been amazing to see him line up here today.
Yeah.
Although, like we were just commenting, the competition of the 26K is certainly what pushed him to that type of performance. And
Exactly. Remy knew he had to make his move
yeah.
on that climb. So, a lot on the line for him on Friday. Hard to say how much faster he would have run today, but
And look at all these runners charging up the hill, earning a big brunch once it's all said and done and they can take the gondola back down.
they're so close. They
I
could
bet-
see the top from here.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who just continue their training day after this and
Yeah.
jog back down to the village too. And it looks like that might be our women's leader there behind the – oh, wait. No, I think those may be our top 2 women. Pink shirt, pink hat, and then white shirt. We got some
We got
polls
a battle.
out. Oh, this is competition, folks. If you can identify these 2 runners, please do let us know. Oh, excuse me. I've been saying Brian's last name wrong. It's Imstead. Excuse me to Brian and his friends here in the chat. Sorry to ES and Pat Matheson. Appreciate you guys for that correction. And we
Oh,
have a
these 2
pass
women.
here, it looks like.
That is great pole work.
Look at
Wow.
this, shoulder to shoulder in the women's race.
What-
Using the implements.
Great call for her to bring those poles. She knows she's good with them.
Really great technique, too. Looking like a ski mountaineer. Again, if you can identify these top 2 women, please do let us know in the chat. It would be very helpful. We'd love to give them some recognition.
Oh, she's going into a run here.
Looking
That's a
super
decisive move.
strong. Okay, so Brian Imstad won the Rut VK just last week. So shout out to Brian.
Wow.
Ripper, 29 years old.
Where's he from?
Can't tell here, so I'm sure his friends in the chat will let us know. Actually, it looks like maybe he just turned 30. So happy birthday. Who is that? Wow, looking so strong.
I wouldn't say this is over. This is still a good battle here. We'll see who's got the legs on the flat section. I'm excited to see this battle.
It looks like Brian finished 7th in the Broken Arrow VK also.
Uphill guy.
In June, yeah, uphill guy. I mean, 7th in the Broken Arrow VK is a really solid result too.
Yeah.
So
It's RD Tim Tollefson swinging the cowbell around. Having a great time up there. I know This is his vision, definitely, bringing these people suffering on top of the mountain.
Yeah. And this woman here in front must be a ski mountaineer. You can tell. I mean, it
can we
almost
ask you
looks like
guys
she's
to go
on
down
skis
there?
right now, doesn't it?
Great call, yeah.
Thank you.
So
Let's see if
she's
she puts him away. What?
cresting this sort of false summit here. Now she'll have to sprint across the traverse before achieving a victory.
cold.
We do have MK at the finish. MK, we're going to get to you in just a second here. We have our lead female who's probably going to be coming into your eyesight here. She's just ripping along the top traverse.
It's all right. I've lost Chad, so I can wait.
Okay, great. So what's the women's CR on this segment here?
Judith actually got it in the race. It's 43:40.
What's up?
Okay, so our women's leader will not be taking home a CR, but will be putting together a fantastic effort here in the 2023 Dragons back.
I mean, that's still incredible, given the caliber of athletes racing the 26K on Friday, coming very close to the CR.
Yeah. It was really awesome that we were able to capture that decisive move there. So
Yeah.
big thanks to our drone operator there.
Am I
We
seeing this
saw-
right? Is she still using her poles on this flat?
Yeah,
Or-
looks like
Wow.
it.
That she's comfortable with those, definitely.
Sounds like Brian Imstad's from Eugene, Oregon. South Eugene High School, then Cornell University, thanks to Pat Matheson in the chat.
Thank you, Pat. That's great. I'm excited to see what Brian does in the coming years if he sticks to the uphill races. Definitely got talent in him.
One of our triple runners?
Wow. Oh, man.
Jennifer
Damn.
Marino is, I think, what he said.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, welcome home, buddy. We got a race for the women. There's two of them right there. 1, 2. Yeah, Jeff, yeah, Jeff, yeah, Jeff.
You!
Okay, so we see our lead woman, potentially Jennifer Marino. Let's see.
Come on, Stacy.
Okay, Tim is running down the
Nice
hill to clang the cowbell. An enthusiastic race director, and number 2 is right behind. Oh my goodness, what a race here in the women's Dragons back.
This is
Ascent.
Laura Hamilton in first. Laura Hamilton in first.
Okay, Laura Hamilton. I think Aussie.
Yeah!
Oh. Huge.
Also winner of the beer mile last night.
Oh, the winner of the beer mile.
That's close.
And who's that in second, MK?
Katie. Her name is oh, that's Katie Follett.
All
Nice
right.
job. Yeah.
Laura Hamilton.
Nice friggin' race.
Unbelievable double. Winning the beer
Wow.
mile and the Dragons back Ascent within
And then
the
we got
span
Carly
of like
Rempel in
15
third.
hours.
That's tough. It's tough to do.
And F3,
All right,
holy.
Carly Rempel in third.
Carly Rempel, Andy Wacker's partner. Great run from Carly. Okay, MK, if you want to get us some finish line interviews, we'd love to hear.
All right, let's do it. Nice job, ladies. Oh, Laura, you're right there? I'm going to take you first since you're tired. Oh, let's go over here. Yeah, we're a little too loud by the music. All right, so we got women's beer mile winner as well as the Dragons back champion with us here. Lara, tell us, how are you feeling today?
I felt a little rusty this morning, but I've been in party mode since Friday. You know, we've got a few things going on here, like let's get this bread, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. And those were my mantras today, going up the mountain.
Dude, you looked like an absolute pro with those poles out there. Did you always plan to use the poles? Have you been practicing with them? Tell us the story.
This is my first time using poles in a running race, but I do a lot of Nordic skiing and skimo. So my plan today was to go full beast mode with the Nordic style.
Hell yeah, well, congratulations. What's next?
Golden Trail World Series final in Italy.
Let's go. Do you guys have any more questions for Lara before I let her go and get some clothes on?
Laura, do you plan to use those poles in any races coming up? You're an
Do you plan to use
absolute machine with those.
Do you plan to use the poles in any of your races coming up? Because you're an absolute machine with those.
I think I will now. I really liked it. It's like splitting the weight between your legs and arms is super fun. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Laura Hamilton's going to be using poles at the next VK World Championships in Spain.
Amazing.
You got it. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Good
Thank
job,
you,
Laura.
All right, let's get Katie Follett up here next. Katie, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was an amazing race for first and second and third. The women were all so
my
close.
Gosh, yes.
Tell us about the race.
Oh, this is so fun. I just have so much joy out here. I mean, how can you not? Look at these views, running on trails in the sunshine. I started my year focused on track. That's my background. Shorter stuff like 1500. So this is completely different, but also really fun because with trail running, I find that you just have to really stay in the moment and embrace the learning curve. And it's just so fun. It's like very meditative almost.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Katie is a world-class 1,500-meter runner as well as a mom, and she's out here absolutely crushing. This is like your first real trail season, right?
Oh yeah, I was literally sitting in the airport in Eugene after US Champs, and I was just thinking, hey, running is kind of pick your own adventure, right? Like I love running, and so let's try something different. Let's try something new. Even though I'm 13 years into a running career and I had a baby, like it's really inspiring. There's lots of women out here that are absolutely crushing, and it's a whole different world. There's a lot of moms. I mean, even just coming out here and running with Laura and getting to know the trail team of it, it's very inspiring. There's lots of cool background stories and very welcoming community. And it's just,
Yeah, well,
broken record. I just keep saying.
no, it's okay. We're excited to have you in the trail community. And so any final remarks about the race today?
Just like this is just wonderful. Thanks for having me, and thanks for putting on such a great event and making it so that all of us crazy runners can come out here and do the thing that fills us with joy, just absolutely killing ourselves and breathing hard. So
All right, any last questions for Katie Follett?
No, tell her that was a fantastic interview, and congratulations from us here in the studio.
They said fantastic interview and congratulations from them in the studio.
awesome. Thank you very much. Nice sunglasses. I love it.
Thank you. Go get warm.
Thank you.
All right, where
Awesome,
did Carly
Katie.
go? I lost Carly, but maybe we go find Chad.
Yeah, go find Carly, and I'll give a quick update on our results here.
We have the top 10 in for men.
Yeah, so again, Chad Hall, our winner, 36:29. Josh Ernst in second, 37:04. Andy Wacker in third, 37:44. Just ahead of David Norris, 37:46. Brian Imstad, 38:32. Michael Peterka, 41:48. Noah Reed, 42:24 in seventh. Matt Seidel, our guy, 42:30 in eighth. Gus Gibbs, my guy, in ninth, 42:54. And then Jeff McClellan rounding out the top 10 in 45:22. So awesome. I mean, top 10 in under 46 minutes, six times here.
Yeah.
That puts Laura Hamilton in 11th overall. Amazing run from Laura.
Amazing.
25 years old,
You,
an Aussie.
you missed it, but that was the first time she's ever used poles.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
She looked like a ski mountaineer,
I know.
didn't she?
Yeah. She has some Nordic background, so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she's
But
got some practice.
Katie, how about Katie? That was her first trail race. It seems like she caught the bug, definitely. We did not pay her to say all those amazing things about the race. That was pure stoke from her.
Yeah. So we have updates through the top 5 women.
I'll make sure to say that.
Okay,
Can you guys
MK,
hear
are
me?
you gonna do? Yeah, are you gonna do double interview with Andy
Yep.
Wacker and Carly?
We're going to do double interview, but first I just wanted to say that Katie Follett actually has done a couple of uphill races this year. She got third at the Rut VK last weekend.
Oh,
so.
great, awesome.
Yeah. All right, so we got third place couple here, Carly Rempel and Andy Wacker. How are you guys feeling doing both the 26K and the uphill race this week?
Well, I did both. Carly's fresh here.
Oh, I thought you guys both
You know
did.
what? She's tired out from cheering the last few days. But Yeah, it was. The legs were definitely tired, but I think a lot of the people were in the same boat. It was, David Norris and Chad Hall, and they all gave their all in the 26K. So it was fun to be out here and have a beautiful day. And for me, I had a sprint finish, which made it really fun and just good to have a competitive race and being that close.
So Carly, you're fresh, and that women's race was insane. Were you guys that close basically the whole time?
We were close the whole way. Just Laura with her pole just clickety-clacked went past us at this last hard part when Katie and I were sliding in the dirt a little bit. But it was a good battle the whole way.
So are you inspired to use poles now in uphill races?
No, not a skier. Laura has that ski background.
I got my butt kicked by a woman with poles in a VK once, and I was like, do I need to do that? And then I found out she was a Nordic skier. But so what are you guys most excited about now that you're at the top and you're done racing for the weekend?
Oh my gosh.
It's Andy's 35th birthday today.
Yeah. I'm officially a Masters according to World Athletics. So watch out, Masters. Here I come.
Well, happy birthday. You guys are going to celebrate with a beer mile tonight, I'm assuming?
Oh my, is there another one?
No.
then we can't do it. Maybe we'll jump in the pool though.
Oh, you know what I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
They're delirious. Do you guys have any last questions for Andy and Carly?
Well, just say happy birthday, a big happy birthday and congratulations from us, and make sure they go put puffy jackets on. It looks quite cold up there.
Yeah.
Just a big happy birthday.
And he's not making words and sentences. So.
Just a big happy birthday.
From the top of California.
And they said
Tuning.
don't put some clothes in.
Oh, yeah.
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 I can't even talk either.
So.
From the top of California, it's Andy Wacker and Carly Rempel.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. All right,
That was
I'm gonna
amazing.
go find Chad and who was second place male again?
Second place male.
Was Josh Ernst was his name.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of an unknown
I'll
guy, so it'd be
get
great
back
to
to you guys.
get a bit about his story. He was wearing like a USA Stars and Bars singlet, so
All right.
might help you find him. So we do have updates through the top 5 women now. Obviously, Laura Hamilton, our champion, 45:51, a crazy fast time, followed by Katie Follett, not far behind, only 10 seconds behind, in fact, 46:01. Carly Rempel, 46:27. Kennedy Rufner, 47:58. And Amanda Wiggenhorn, 50:18 for our top 5.
Looks like F6 just crossed the line too. Alexandra Shikoti. I'm saying that wrong.
Oh, yeah, just came through on my screen, too. Siachetti, Alexandra Siachetti, potentially. Boise, Idaho, 28 years old, 54:03. Great job, Alexandra. And look at the crowd amassed at the top of the hill here. Love to see it. The fans came out.
Runners finishing, cheering each other on after.
Exactly. Trail culture. You don't just jump in the Gandhi as soon as you're done. You wait up there for some hugs and war stories with the rest of the athletes. Brave in the elements, brave in the vertical, brave in the altitude to bring home awesome finishes here this morning. And what a beautiful day at the top of California, like Andy Wacker said. And a big happy birthday, big 35th happy birthday to Andy Wacker, a guy who's been in the game for a long time and who now is doing a lot to give back to the trail running community. I'm
What a
sure
way
they're
to
going to go
celebrate.
back home to Boulder with full hearts after their own achievements, but also the achievements of their trail team, which we've been talking about all weekend here.
Yeah, amazing performances from all of them this weekend. Sport's in a good place, thanks to Andy.
Now we have 7th and 8th through in the women's race. Rebecca Anderson from Truckee in 7th. She ran 55:13. And then Reagan Sachin from Crowley Lake,
Local.
55:54.
You know she trains on this hill.
Great times across the board here. Is that true that Reagan Sachin is 14 years old? I think
believe
our
it.
8th place runner is 14. Our 7th place runner is 45, which gives us a 31-year age differential here in our top 10 between our 7th and 8th place runners. That is unbelievable.
Age is just a number in this sport. That's the big takeaway.
Truly. Very, very cool. Shout out to all of our runners here.
Look at that wind ripping across the top. Those flags are about to be uprooted. I think the wind is close to 30 miles per hour now up there.
I'm going a little bit deeper in the men's results here, so I want to give a couple of shout-outs. Mark Dowd, 17 years old from Chico. Ripping 51.02, Mark Dowd, 17
Awesome.
years old for 26th overall. A little bit further down, I think it was, hold on, sorry, it just updated.
You got a 16-year-old Mammoth local, Jack Leonard, 52.43.
Here you go, Jack.
Another local, 17 years old, Cabot Godoy, 55.19.
The next generation, huh?
Yeah. Just shows the whole community comes out on this hill. They're definitely not strangers to it. So.
All right, so we now have officially our top 10 women through the finish line here at the 2023 Dragons Back Ascent. So let's just go through our top 10 one last time, and then Rod and I are going to do a short debrief of the entirety of this weekend's 3-day trail running festival before we sign off for the weekend ourselves and try and go get a little fresh air and a little bit of exercise out in the mountains after being inspired by all these great athletes. Again, starting from the top, Katie Follett, our champion here at the Dragons Back Ascent, followed by Laura Hamilton, our champion, Dragons Back Ascent, Katie Follett in second, Carly Rimpel in third, Kennedy Rufner in fourth, Amanda Wiggenhorn in fifth, Alexandra Ciaschetti in sixth, Rebecca Anderson in seventh, Reagan Sechin in eighth, Madeline Grote in ninth, and Ashley Hall in 10th. And we just got Megan Mickelson in 11th through. So that's our official top 11 here. And what an awesome weekend, Rod. Where do we even start? I mean, I guess let's go back to Friday, the Golden Trail World Series race. Incredible racing, incredible international depth.
Just so crazy fast. Still in shock with Remy's file. With Yuta's file, it's amazing to see the caliber of athletes that are coming out to Mammoth and doing that.
Yeah. So maybe we could just tick through maybe some performances of the weekend and some maybe random ballers of the weekend, some people who did a lot to sort of have breakthroughs themselves. Just off the top of my head, obviously today Josh Ernst had a great one in the VK. Thinking back to yesterday, Patrick Walkner finished second place in the men's 50K, and then our second and third place runners in the women's race in the 50K yesterday, whose names I'm going to have to refresh myself on. They both had breakout runs, and it seems like both of them have. Keela Barger from Salt Lake City and Selena Langner.
Yeah,
probably two of our #random ballers of the weekend.
Yeah, and then shout out also to Dana, who lives in Bishop, fourth in the 50K race. MK gave us a little insight into her training schedule, as MK is her coach now, and she's working really, really odd hours as a nurse practitioner and still getting the work done, and it's definitely paid off for her.
Okay, we're going to cut back to MK. It looks like she's probably with Josh Ernst there. MK, can you hear us?
They're breaking up. Can you guys hear me fine?
I can hear you now, MK, loud and clear.
Okay, well, I am here with Josh Ernst, our second place finisher today. Josh, how are you feeling after grueling up the Dragons Back for the first time?
I'm feeling pretty good. It was tough, but it was fun, so I enjoyed it.
So this feels like a kind of like a breakthrough performance for you for the year. We know that you did Sunapee. He was just telling me that he did Pikes Peak Ascent last week, but he was in Wave 5, so he didn't really get to race as that he really do. So a bit about your.
And sorry to our viewing audience. It looks like we have lost reception up there at the top of the mountain. MK might be competing with the cell phones of those 100 human beings that you see standing up there at the top of the hill. Going back to our conversation, Rod.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the, breakthrough performances, or next generation / rookies of the year, people that come to mind. Mika Boudon-Rousseau, who we had in studio here during the 50K broadcast yesterday. Great to get to know him. That kid is full of talent. Anna Gibson, who we've been talking about all week and singing her praises, one of the best sub-ultra distance seasons in the world by any measure. So great to see a lot of new young talent coming here to Mammoth to show off their skills.
Definitely. And I'd love to shout out Danny Moreno too, who you know was definitely not trying to target these shorter races. It still came out second on her home course. So great result from Danny after a pretty disappointing OCC for herself. So really just happy for her.
Yeah, awesome run from Danny. Awesome run from Danny. She had to boogie. She's not going to be celebrating here with all of her trail friends in her hometown of Mammoth Lakes. She had to go to a wedding after her amazing second place performance in the 28K on Friday. What else comes to mind here, Rod?
Chris Myers in the 50K. I just love how he raced. He got into Mammoth the night before the race from LA, so straight from sea level. I think he took that into consideration and didn't want to go out too hard, and it definitely paid off for him. Picked up a few places coming off the top of the mountain and ended up on the podium in the 50K in a great time.
Okay, we're going to throw it back to MK here. MK, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, much better, actually. So maybe start over because we really didn't catch anything from the first try.
All right, we'll start from the beginning. Tell us how you're feeling after coming up the Dragon's Back for the first time.
That felt pretty good. I did everything I could do, and it felt good to get to the top.
It's always nice to make it to the top. Plus, Tim added this section up here this time, so like you guys had it even worse than last year. So Josh has had a pretty long uphill season so far this year. He did the Sunapee Scramble. He just told me that he actually did Pikes Peak Ascent, but he had to start in wave 5, so he wasn't able to run the race that he had hoped to run. But is this going to be your last race for the season? Tell us a little bit about the races you've already done.
Yeah. I usually just run in Breckenridge, so this whole year I've been doing a lot of hill running up there. But this is my last uphill race of the year, so I'm happy to finish on a good spot.
Well, I feel like this was really a breakthrough performance for you, and that men's race was so close the entire time, and it was a lot of fun to watch you make a move late in the race to get into second place. Was that your plan all along, or is there ever a plan in an uphill race?
I was happy where I started, but I was glad to have just a few people right in front of me. I used them to just sort of hang out and pace me for a while, and when I felt good, I decided to just keep going and just pass past them.
Hell yeah. Do you guys have any questions for Josh before I let him go get warm again?
Let Josh know that his good friend Chris Vargo is giving him kudos in the chat here.
All right. I was told to let you know that Chris Vargo was giving you big kudos in the chat. So
yeah, I got to, see him this last, a couple weeks ago in Breckenridge. We raced one of the local races together, and he pushed me really good. So he's a good person to run with.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and go get warm and have some donuts.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Chad was cooling down, so I told him to meet me at the top of the mountain when he was done.
Okay, great. We'll stand by for that Chad interview.
Is he cooling down, going back to the town of Mammoth?
Hopefully it's not too long of a cool down there. Rod, so maybe let's just give some recognition to our champions here on race weekend because, man, we had some incredible performances from all of our winners, both Remy Bonnet and Judith Weider.
Yeah.
Swiss athletes, just absolute champions in the sport, people who not only have great prowess, great skills, great results, but great reputations in the sport. So a big shout out and thank you to these great Swiss athletes for coming all the way here to Mammoth to show their skills and take part in sort of North American trail culture a little bit.
And also lining up at Pikes Peak last weekend too. So really cool to see the double workout for both of them.
And then last night it was so great to have Nick Handel and MK Sullivan on the couch for our recap show, the champions of the 50K, two great, humble, and humorous athletes. Nick having an amazing season, ripping 6 50Ks so far and doing quad dipsy, which is about a 50K coming up in November, a huge season.
And just so humble,
Nick.
right? He still doesn't feel like he's figured out the 50K. Still wants to excel at it before moving up in distance, and just a really mature runner.
And then obviously MK Sullivan, who's there at the top of the mountain doing finish line interviews after setting a PR in the beer mile last night after her 50K win. She's had an awesome season too. She was second from memory at Formidable, which was the USATF 50K championship. Then she was, I think, second or third again at the Canyons 50K in the spring. She was ninth at the World Championships, MK Sullivan. She had a tough one, a DNF at OCC, and then coming back for redemption here at the 50K at Mammoth Trail Fest. Now the only person to win all 3 races here at the Mammoth Trail Fest, MK Sullivan.
Definitely getting her mojo back.
Awesome. And then, of course, the champions here today, Laura Hamilton, the Aussie who won the beer mile last night in Mammoth Village, bringing home another victory like 13 hours later here at the top of Mammoth Mountain in the Dragon's Back Ascent.
Expect to see her at the championships for Golden Trail in Italy.
Awesome.
So excited to see how she does there.
And then, of course, Chad Hall.
Of course, Chad. I'm so glad to see it come together for him after it's a few disappointing races, even though really, really strong races from him earlier this weekend, with the unfortunate DNF on Saturday and the DQ on Friday. But yeah, I mean, those things don't mean anything. Like we know how fit Chad is, and we know how good of a competitor he is too.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a question in the chat. If we have updates on those doing the triple, we do not, unfortunately, at this point, but those will be updated to Ultra Sign Up here in probably the next 24 hours. So, a big shout out and admiration to all those runners who did do the triple. I know Frank Sinceri was doing it. And there was, Tim recognized all the top 5 last night. So, there's probably
Frank
a couple
did
dozen.
Finish here.
There's probably at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen runners who are taking part in the Mammoth Triple. So pretty awesome.
I also want to shout out Sam Hendry in 26K. It seemed like he finished 4th overall there, and it seemed like a pretty breakthrough result for him coming off. He's a skier who skis for University of Utah and now transitioning to trail running, and he had a huge result.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think very highly of him. He's only 24 years old also, and sort of cleaning up on that Cirque Series circuit throughout the Mountain West over the last couple of months.
Yes, Bridget. Exactly.
Yeah, Bridget, great comment. I think this weekend's subtitle is The Future of Trail Racing, and that seems very true to me as well. A lot of established younger talent, a lot of breakthrough younger talent, and then, a lot of grizzled veterans still also showing up here and putting on a show. I think a couple of the, my personal sort of highlights of the weekend, seeing Chris and Alicia Vargo returning to competition here. Chris finished 14th in the 26K, which is a fantastic result. Alicia was 12th. After 6 years away from racing, they're coming back and being competitive with some of the world's best, which is awesome. It's great to have them back. And here we are at the top of the mountain with men's champion Chad Hall and MK Sullivan.
Thank you. Yeah, guys, I'm here with Chad Hall, 2-time winner of the uphill. He won here last year after also winning the 50K. It's been kind of a rough weekend for you, so I feel like today was some redemption. And how are you feeling?
Yeah, it was tough. They didn't let me have it easy today. It was good. I mean, like, adductor was a little bit messed up from yesterday. It felt a little awkward getting going, but luckily uphill is very gentle on the legs. You just start working. So yeah, I felt decent enough and was able to like hammer. This altitude is rough, like on the lungs and everything. But yeah, rough weekend. Feeling a little bit down last night, but watching you and Rod smash it in the beer mile got me hyped. Yeah.
I'm glad we could provide some motivation. Speak up. All right. I'm glad that we could provide some motivation. And I'm just, I had a question and then we started.
I assume we're not live on this one.
We are live on this one.
That's cool.
So what's next for you? Are you going back to the roads or do you have another trail race coming up?
I think I'm going to hop in the 50K Kodiak. Yeah, we'll see.
Are you going to try to qualify for OCC?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been, paying attention to that race for a while. It seems like a super rad one to qualify for. So, and I mean, Kodiak's in my hometown. Know that course well. Definitely won't get lost there. Knock on wood. So yeah, I'd love to go rip that course. Fitness feels good. I just need the body to kind of recoup from the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. So that was a pretty close race. I mean, you had a substantial lead kind of early on, but did you know how close they were? Were you running scared? Did you feel confident the whole time?
Yeah, you just don't really know at this altitude, what's going to happen. I mean, legs felt a little bit worked. So I was checking over my shoulder, kind of hiking the sections I felt like I could maybe recover on a little bit. Yeah, just trying to kind of ride that line. And at the end of the day, you can only do what you got in the tank. So yeah, trying to just put out my best effort, check back, do it strategically. So yeah, stoked to hold on to the win because I was a little bit worried later in the race.
Well, you looked great on this flat section here at the very end, showing off your road speed for everybody. Do you guys have any questions for Chad before I let him go?
No, tell him congratulations today and good luck at Kodiak.
They said congratulations today and good luck at Kodiak.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, MK.
Thanks, MK.
Okay, so we were back here in the studio to conclude our coverage of the 2023 Mammoth Trail Fest, and what an amazing weekend it has been. 3 days of high-octane racing, lots of good vibes, external from the competitions themselves. I am going to go home smiling ear to ear on my 6-hour drive back to the Bay Area here today. Rod, what are some of your highlights, and what do you have coming up?
I'm just so impressed with the performances this weekend, and so awesome to meet some of these athletes that you just watch overseas race. And yeah, it's again awesome to see my hometown transform into this hub and see so many smiling faces around town and so many people achieving their goals. And yeah, I'm gonna have a nice 6-minute jog back to my home.
Yes. So before we wrap up, just want to extend a huge thank you to everybody who followed our coverage all weekend. It was great to have you in the chat, and it was great to bump into many of you in the village here in Mammoth Lakes. For those who are thinking about coming here next year, we would certainly encourage you to do so. Not sure when Tim is going to open registration for 2024, but make sure you do follow Mammoth Trail Fest on Instagram or subscribe to their newsletter and stay abreast of updates from this event. I know I will be back next year. Rod lives here. I'm sure he's going to be back next year. And finally, just want to extend a huge bit of gratitude to the whole media team. The coverage was excellent throughout race weekend, so a big shout out to Matt Feldick, who nobody has seen on camera yet today, but we've been staring at all weekend.
So much behind the scenes work here. So many awesome drone shots. We hope they inspired you.
Jamil Curry, Troy Wicks, the rest of the Mountain Outpost media team who traveled all the way from Arizona to be here and to bring you 3 days of amazing live streaming. They are truly pioneering this new medium of coverage here in our sport. So big thanks to Mountain Outpost and that whole team. With all that being said, we are going to wrap up here today. On behalf of Rod Farvard, myself, the rest of the media team, we'll see you guys here for Mammoth Trail Fest 2024. Peace out.